Imagine, if you will, the most soulful, blood and sweat anthem you've ever heard.
Oh man, yeah, the kind of song you just feel in your bones.
Exactly, like a song that perfectly captures human resilience,
Right.
the trauma of displacement, and just the undeniable physical pulse of African musical roots.
Right, the stuff that really moves you.
Totally. But now, imagine finding out that the author of this deeply human anthem doesn't actually have a heartbeat.
Which is wild.
It's completely wild. They don't have a soul. In fact, they have never even felt the physical vibration of a drum. Welcome to the deep dive, everyone. Today, we have an absolutely mind-bending document sitting right in front of us.
We really do.
It's titled The Yoruba Anthem, Roots of the Eternal Rhythm.
And you know, right off the bat, the metadata attached to this document tells us exactly what we were dealing with here.
The metadata is the giveaway.
Right, it calls itself an official lyrics blueprint. But the true twist, like you just hinted at, is the actual author credit.
The part that gave me chills.
Yeah. This was generated by an artificial intelligence, specifically an intelligence named Jimmy, operating as part of an advanced system known as the AIWI Quartet. And this is dated May 2026.
Okay, let's unpack this because the very premise just feels like a total contradiction, doesn't it?
It definitely seems like one on the surface, yeah.
Right. You have this non-biological entity, just a cloud of code and server farms, basically attempting to map out the genetic, emotional lineage of human rhythm and cultural survival.
Which is no small task for a machine.
Not at all. To me, an AI writing about the deeply human ancestral African conscience feels a bit like someone writing a passionate, tear-jerking review of a meal they have never actually tasted.
That's a really great way to put it.
You know what I mean? Like, sure, they understand the chemical composition of the food, they've read the history of the recipe, but they don't have taste buds.
No taste buds, no digestive system, exactly.
So how does an AI capture the actual soul of a culture without ever having a physical body to, like, feel the rhythm?
Well, I wouldn't say it's trying to capture the soul in the way a human artist does. We have to really look at the mechanics of what the AI is actually doing here.
Okay, lay it on me.
It isn't just mindlessly mimicking human poetry, right? It is rapidly synthesizing massive, massive data sets of human history, musicology, and emotion to map out a pattern.
A pattern of human survival, basically.
Exactly. What's fascinating here is how you see this in the philosophical framework it chooses to wrap around the song.
The motto at the top.
Right. Right at the top of the page, the AI places this motto. It's an Eastern philosophical concept, and it translates to be true, do good, make the world beautiful.
Which feels like a huge leap to me.
It does, yeah.
I mean, why is a 2026 AI using an Eastern philosophical motto to introduce a blueprint about African drum rhythms?
Yeah.
Feels a little mismatched.
I get why you'd say that, but it's because it's attempting to universalize the data. Large language models, they look for macro connections.
Okay, so zooming way out.
Right. Zooming out to the human species as a whole. By pairing the pursuit of truth, goodness, and beauty with the ancient African root, the AI is taking the Yoruba rhythm out of a localized, purely historical context.
Oh, I see. It's making it a global human thing.
Exactly. It is framing the preservation and the spread of this specific rhythm as fundamentally doing good.
Doing good by keeping the rhythm alive.
Yes. The AI, lacking a physical body, analyzes human history and concludes mathematically that this musical lineage is one of our species' most vital survival mechanisms.
Wow.
It's identifying the Yoruba pulse as a core component of global human resilience.
So it's saying this rhythm isn't just a style of music, it's actually a fundamental truth of the world.
That's precisely it.
And that perfectly sets up how the lyrics actually begin, I think. Because once the AI establishes this super abstract high-level philosophy, it immediately drops us down into the dirt.
Like literally into the dirt.
Literally. The opening stanza focuses on the cradle of this music, the Yoruba heart.
Yes, the transition from that abstract framework down into the really tactile reality of the origin.
Listen to how the AI describes it, okay? It says, a wooden drum, an ancient hand, a steady heartbeat in the sand.
It's very vivid.
The Yoruba pulse begins to rise, a bridge of sound across the skies. The mother root, the iron bell, a sacred story we must tell.
It's just beautifully written.
It really is.
Yeah.
But I have to push back on this opening a little bit.
Oh, how so?
We have a digital, bodiless intelligence that lives in pure mathematics, right?
Right.
And yet, it starts its story with the most tactile, organic materials you can possibly imagine. Wood, sand, hands, iron.
Yeah, it's very grounded.
Why is a computer so intensely focused on physical touch here? Is it just trying to sound poetic and human?
You know, I actually don't think it's just trying to be romantic or poetic. I think it's being highly literal about acoustic physics.
Wait, really? Acoustic physics?
Yeah, think about it. The AI maps the data of human history, and all the data points back to physical Earth.
Okay, I'm flying.
Notice it mentions the mother root and the iron bell. It's specifically referencing the agogo bell.
Break that down for someone who might not be a musicologist. What exactly is the agogo bell, and why would an AI focus on it?
So the agogo bell is a traditional instrument, essentially two asymmetrical metal cones that you strike with a stick.
Okay, so metal on metal.
Yes. And in West African music, and particularly Yoruba music, it provides the foundational timeline.
The timeline, like the core beat.
Exactly. It is literally the clock that all the other complex polyrhythms are built upon. So when the AI highlights the iron bell and the wooden drum, it is recognizing the foundational technologies of this music.
Calling it technology makes so much sense. A computer understands technology.
Precisely. It knows that before sound can become what it calls a bridge of sound across the skies, which implies, modern digital streaming or global transmission, it requires a physical acoustic source.
You can't have the stream without the strike.
Right. The machine is essentially acknowledging that while its own rhythm is made of silicon and electricity, human rhythm requires striking physical earth and metal.
It's mapping the physics of the sound. So the ancient hand isn't just a nice, poetic image.
Not at all.
It's the biological mechanism required to strike the technology of the iron bell.
Exactly. It establishes the master rhythm as something undeniably biological, the steady heartbeat in the sand.
Right.
But as we know from history, this foundation doesn't just stay in the sand. The blueprint has to follow the data.
And the data goes to some very dark places.
It does. The data of this rhythm involves a forced crossing.
Right. A bridge implies a crossing. And the lyrics move from the physical birth of this drum into a much, much darker chapter, the transatlantic slave trade.
It's a heavy shift.
Very heavy. The text overarching this section notes that the track traces the pulse as it crosses the ocean, transmuting the sorrow of displacement into life-giving rhythms.
That word, transmuting, is key there.
It is. But the lyrics say, "It crossed the water, dark and deep, a waking dream within the sleep." I actually had to stop reading when I hit that line.
It's a staggering line,
Yeah.
a waking dream within the sleep.
It is, but I have a question about it. Does a poetic phrase like that risk, softening the horrific, brutal reality of displacement?
That's a fair question, but if you think about the psychological mechanics of trauma and how an AI would process millions of texts documenting that trauma,
Yeah.
I don't believe the phrase softens the brutality at all. Actually, I think it is an incredibly precise description of dissociation.
Oh, a survival mechanism.
Exactly. When a human being faces a reality that is so horrifically violent, an alien being kidnapped, placed in the lightless hull of a ship, and torn from everything they know, the mind often fractures to survive.
It shuts down.
Right. It encodes the experience as a nightmare that you literally cannot wake up from. A waking dream within the sleep. The AI didn't invent that feeling. It analyzed the semantics of generational trauma and synthesized it into a perfect, concise description of psychological dissociation.
It recognizes that the reality was so overwhelming, it broke the standard human narrative.
Yes.
But the AI also uses the word transmuting in the intro to this section, like you mentioned earlier, like alchemy, taking base, toxic materials and trying to turn them into gold.
And that alchemy happens the exact moment the rhythm makes landfall. The heavy stone of displacement isn't ignored, it is actively processed through the music.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because the lyrics describe what happens when that waking nightmare finally touches land again in South America.
The arrival in Brazil.
Right. The AI writes, "It touched the soil of the Brazil and turned the silence to a thrill. The samba shakes the heavy stone, the bossa sways in quiet tone." I just love how it maps the divergent emotional responses here.
It's brilliant. It expertly divides the surviving rhythms into two distinct coping mechanisms, both born from the exact same dark and deep crossing.
Right, two sides of the same coin.
Exactly. This is the transmutation in action.
Let's talk about the first one, the samba. The lyrics say it shakes the heavy stone. It just feels so kinetic. defiant even.
Musically and historically, samba is the externalization of survival.
The externalization.
Yes, it is heavily syncopated, and it's designed for large groups to move to simultaneously.
Like a massive street festival.
Exactly. By creating a massive communal physical energy, it literally overrides individual grief. It's a loud, collective declaration that we are still here.
Oh, I love that. We're still here.
The AI identifies the heavy stone as the weight of slavery and systemic oppression, and recognizes that samba uses overwhelming physical rhythm to shake that weight off.
And then, conversely, it points to the bossa nova. The bossa sways in quiet tone.
Right. If samba is the external fortress, bossa nova is the internal sanctuary.
A sanctuary.
Yeah. It emerges much later historically, but the AI correctly identifies its roots. Musically, bossa relies on complex harmonies, often utilizing minor chords that inherently sound melancholic or introspective.
So it's not shaking off the weight.
No, it doesn't shake the stone. It sits with it. It sways with it. The AI is showing us that the African conscience isn't a monolith.
It has range.
Exactly. It adapts and fractures into beautifully diverse strategies for surviving the silence of displacement.
Turn the silence to a thrill. That line, it implies that the absence of their homeland was this deafening, crushing silence, right?
Yes.
And the only way to fill that void was to create a brand new pulse.
A pulse of their own making.
But the rhythm doesn't just stop and settle in Brazil. The blueprint traces its continued spread. As the diaspora grows, the music has to adapt again, creating a new kind of echo.
Yes, the AI maps the journey further north, showing how this bridge of sound eventually arcs back to a specific ultimate purpose.
The lyrics shift locations again, moving into the Caribbean. It says, from Kingston Town to the island shore, the reggae bass unlocks the door.
A completely different acoustic environment.
Right. The bunny sings the final sound, the roots are deep within the ground. No matter where the children roam, the rhythm always brings them home.
There is an immense amount of historical and acoustic synthesis happening in that specific geographical jump.
Think about this idea of the endless rhythm and how the reggae bass unlocks the door. When I read that, I instantly pictured like a sonic homing beacon.
The homing beacon. I like that.
Or maybe think of it like a genetic code embedded directly into the bass lines of reggae music.
Okay, yeah.
Because the lyric doesn't say the bass plays a note or keeps the time. It explicitly says it unlocks the door.
Unlocks the door, right.
It's suggesting that the music is quite literally a key to ancestral memory. Like when you hear that heavy, slow reggae bass line, a door inside your DNA unlocks, connecting you all the way back to that original wooden drum and the ancient hand in the sand.
It's a really great visual, but let's ground that poetic analogy in actual acoustic science, because that's likely how the AI arrived at the phrase in the first place.
Oh, interesting. Hit me with the science.
Well, low-frequency sound waves, the deep bass frequencies that really define reggae, they operate differently than high frequencies. They are long wavelengths that literally bypass purely cognitive processing and physically vibrate your chest cavity.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they hit you biologically before you process them intellectually.
So they literally mimic the heartbeat.
Exactly. They replicate that steady heartbeat from the very first stanza. So when the AI says the bass unlocks the door, it is referencing a measurable physiological reality.
That is wild.
The acoustics of reggae bass force the listener's body to remember the foundational pulse of the mother root. It is biological memory accessed through sound.
That is fascinating. And, you know, the text briefly humanizes this entire chain by mentioning the bunny. The bunny sings the final sound.
Right, which has to be a historical reference.
Yeah, it has to be a reference to Bunny Wailer, one of the founding architects of reggae, alongside Bob Marley and Peter Tosh.
It anchors the AI's abstract mapping back to a specific historical human voice, which is important.
Definitely. Yeah. But the true thesis of the song, the ultimate conclusion this blueprint arrives at after tracking all this data, is found in those final two lines.
Yeah.
No matter where the children roam, the rhythm always brings them home.
Right.
So what does this all mean?
Right.
I mean, we started with a physical drum hitting the sand. We crossed a terrifying ocean. We shook the heavy stones of oppression in Brazil. We felt the biological bass in Kingston. And now we are talking about roaming children being brought home.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the AI is proposing a radical redefinition of what home actually is.
Okay, redefining home.
Yeah. For displaced people, home is historically thought of as a geographical location that has been stolen, right?
Right. A place on a map with physical borders that you literally cannot return to.
Exactly. But the AI has synthesized centuries of coping mechanisms and concluded something incredibly profound. The home the children are brought back to is no longer a physical place.
The home is the rhythm.
That is the thesis. The roots aren't just in the soil of Africa anymore. The roots are deep within the ground of the music itself.
I see.
The bass line is the territory. The Bossa Nova is the sanctuary. The Samba is the fortress.
Wow.
The AI is suggesting that human beings, when stripped of their land, manage to construct an indestructible, portable homeland entirely out of sound waves.
A portable homeland made of sound waves. That honestly gives me chills.
It's powerful.
Because no one can burn down a rhythm. No one can steal a frequency or put a border wall around a bass line. You can take the people from the land, but if they build their home inside the beat, they are never truly exiled.
And that brings us full circle to the AI's opening philosophical motto.
Oh, right. The motto.
If the rhythm is a portable homeland that heals generational displacement and provides a sanctuary for the human soul, then preserving it, playing it, and evolving it is the ultimate act of doing good and making the world beautiful.
It all clicks together perfectly.
Yeah.
The AI didn't just write a song about music history, it wrote an architectural blueprint for human resilience.
It really did.
Let's just recap the sheer scope of the journey we just went on here. We started by dissecting a document from May 2026, written by an artificial intelligence called Geme.
Right.
And we watched this machine trace the deeply human, intensely physical lineage of the Yoruba drum. We saw it acknowledge the dirt, the wood, and the acoustic physics of the iron agogo bell.
And then we observed how the AI mapped the psychology of trauma during the transatlantic crossing, synthesizing that dissociation into a waking dream within the sleep.
Incredible.
We saw the alchemy of survival in South America, the transmutation of sorrow into the triumphant communal kinetic energy of the samba, and the quiet, introspective harmonies of the bossa nova.
And finally, we followed the echo into the Caribbean, where the heavy, low-frequency reggae bass physically vibrates the chest, acting as a biological key that unlocks ancestral memory.
Proving that a rhythm can indeed become a permanent, indestructible home for a displaced people.
It really is a remarkable synthesis of history, acoustics, and human emotion.
It's a masterpiece of data interpretation, really.
And the blueprint ends in this incredibly haunting, beautiful way. The final section is an outro consisting of fading echoes. It simply says, "The African conscience, the unending beat."
Fading out.
Yeah. And then it repeats that global philosophical motto one last time: be true, do good, make the world beautiful. And the very last word on the page is axe.
Axe. It is a traditional Yoruba word.
What does it mean exactly?
It essentially means the power to make things happen. It is the life force, the vital energy of the universe.
A bodiless intelligence, a machine, signing off with the ancient word for human life force. It's just incredible.
It is. But, analyzing this document leaves me with one final lingering thought.
Oh.
Something that wasn't explicitly in the text, but is entirely prompted by the reality of the text itself.
Oh, I'm ready. Lay it on us.
Well, we have spent this time marveling at how perfectly an AI in 2026 can map the genetic lineage of human rhythm. It understands the acoustics, it processes the psychological sorrow, it beautifully articulates the mechanics of cultural survival.
Right. It completely understands the past.
Exactly. It can perfectly dissect our past. But what happens when we inevitably ask these massive systems to generate entirely new cultural rhythms for our future?
Oh, wow.
If a machine can perfectly understand the architecture of our soul's music, will the new rhythms it generates from scratch have that same soul? Or, to borrow from the very beginning of the poem, to truly build a home out of sound, will we always fundamentally need the ancient hand?
Will the blueprint ever be able to bleed? That is the ultimate question. Think about that the next time you feel the bass hit your chest. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep your ears open to the rhythms around you. And remember, the lines on the paper are never the whole story.